Due to the graphic nature of this program, viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to the Marco Duray Show, everyone. It is Thursday, October 30th, 2025. Thank you for tuning in to today's show to hear all the relevant, groundbreaking news here in America and around the world. The only show where the facts are facts and hard truths thrive. Please don't forget to follow this show and share with whomever needs to hear the truth in our push to unwoke America. Let's start off the best hour radio has to offer today, uncensored and ready to go. You know, during yesterday's show, I was discussing the Ukraine war, and I actually made a mistake when discussing the recruitment needed to continue the war for another 2 to 3 years as a part of Zelensky's delusional dream. And I said that Ukraine would have to resort to going to use the Azov Battalion or the Wagner Group. But then right after the show ended, I realized that the Wagner Group was actually a paramilitary arm of Russia, not of Ukraine. So I wanted to make that correction to everybody today because, again, I try to bring you the truth and the facts. So I did make a little mistake there yesterday. But I did also find out that the Ukrainians are now looking to conscript 18 to 23-year-olds now in this war that they cannot win, bringing them to the front lines, of course, to do nothing other than die. So Zelensky is just, about depleting the male population in Ukraine and, of course, siphoning off money that, us and the UE always give them. No real surprise there, I don't think. So I wanted to set the record straight yesterday. Just wanted to make that correction. For those of you that listened to yesterday's show, the Wagner Group is not a part of Ukraine. Sorry about that. But let's dive into what's going on right now. We've got the lockdown with our government. They call it a shutdown. I call it a lockdown. We've locked down the government down. Okay, we're on day 30 right now. We've had 15 attempts to try to reopen the government. The Republicans are blaming the Democrats. The Democrats are blaming the Republicans. Whose fault really is it? That's what I want to know. Whose fault is this really? Most people are elated about this, like, look, nobody's in government. They're not doing anything. Thank God they're not passing any bills. We don't need it. For the most part, most people don't care. But the people who are, again, government employees, those in the military, those that work for the federal government, the ICE agents that continue to go out there, regardless if they're being paid or not. We're seeing it with air traffic controllers not showing up to work, thus many delays in many of our international airports around America. So we are seeing things being affected by average Americans. And my position is, okay, you're a government employee. By the way, Congress is still getting paid about all this, by the way, just so everyone's clear on that. Congress is still getting paid. So they're getting paid while doing absolutely nothing. So I want that to sink in with everybody here. But the Senate and Democrats and Republicans alike are now trying to hammer out the proposal now to end the 30-day government shutdown as soon as next week, as some centrist Democrats argue behind the scenes that their party has successfully highlighted rising healthcare costs, and it's time to end this stalemate. Well, what did you try to accomplish with this? This is the part I don't understand. What are they trying to accomplish? This shutdown fatigue on Capitol Hill was growing for one reason. Well, a couple reasons. But one reason, and that was simply to give illegal aliens health care. People have no jurisdiction in our country. They have no right to be here, yet somehow Chucky Schumer, old schmuck boomer, wanted illegal aliens on this. And why does he want that? Well, because he wants to give them government handouts. He wants to be their knight in shining armor, so they vote for him. Oh, yeah, they want other ridiculous things, too. They want funding for, NPR, other things of that nature. All things that had nothing to do with running a successful government. That's it. Nothing there. Now, with an open enrollment for affordable health care insurance marketplace set to begin next month, some of the Democrats now are saying that the higher costs are already baked in because Republicans have steadfastly refused to negotiate a deal to enhance subsidies that are due to expire at the end of December. Yeah, okay, Chuck, there we go. One Democrat senator said, my assessment is that we've won anything that we can possibly win, and the cost of continuing to shut down are going to be felt by many people who are going to food banks, federal employees, as I mentioned to you earlier. This is all ridiculous. The Democrats see this as backfiring on them. We saw this on CNN. The guy who loves to be adamant about what's the polling and everything. So the Republicans are actually coming out on top in this matter. Democrats are losing support yet again. So it's backfiring on them. Now, Schmuck Toomer, old schmucky boomer, wanted to do this to make the Republicans look bad. Look, we've shut down the government. You're not eating. You're not getting paid, this and that. But it's them who's holding this up for the reasons I just outlined to you. And one of the big factors that's coming up on November 1st, a huge factor, by the way, is thinking that the SNAP program, the benefits that, again, expire on Saturday, and putting 42 million Americans at risk of not having enough food to eat, is going to be a positive for the Democrats who are holding up this continuing resolution. I mean, come on. What is in this bill, by the way, that the Democrats won't sign? Chuck Schumer has signed many in the past, so what's wrong with this one? Did he ever not sign one when he was Senate leader under the Biden regime? Of course not. Of course not. Why wouldn't he? This is the Democrats playing politics right now, folks. That's all it is, my friends. Politics. That's all it is. So what was in this bill that they can't seem to come together on? Well, in addition, the bill extends several expiring programs and, of course, authorizes many of the following. So several public health programs like Medicare and Medicaid, authorities and programs, they want to obviously fund that. Various programs to our veterans, the U.S. Grain Standard Act, of course, that's a big one for many of our farmers, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Livestock Mandatory Pricing Reporting Program. There's several Department of Homeland Security programs related to cybersecurity. The Democrats obviously don't want to fund that. Authorities for DHS and, of course, the Department of Justice take action to mitigate a credible threat from an unmanned aircraft system. Special assessment of non-indignant persons or entities convicted of certain offenses involving sexual abuse or human trafficking. Obviously, that would affect many illegal aliens, by the way, so you can see where they don't want to get on board on that. Authorizes related to Commodity Futures Trading Commission whistleblowing program and the Defense Production Act of 1950. So why can't they get on board on this? What's wrong with this? Well, again, we know exactly what they want to do. I mean, it gets more ridiculous as time goes on. They're not proposing they want something absolutely asinine. This is really sickening to me. This just came out not too long ago, what Schmuck Toomer wants to actually do. And he actually wants funding now for, I think, like LGBTQ, somewhere in, I think, Africa or someplace like that, and the Balkans or something. He wants millions of dollars for this. This is the latest nonsense they're coming up with right now. Like, what the hell is this? Again, this is what they're holding the Republicans hostage for. Again, you can't make this stuff up. You really can't. So when will this end? How long will Schumer keep the government shut down for? How long will these Democrats who hate your guts keep the government shut down for? Well, they get paid. I mean, do we really need AOC to continue to go on a speaking tour with Zoran Mamdani, who's, I'm pleased to say, crashing in the polls right now? Happy to see that. But when are they going to get to work, Congress? This is what I want to know. When are they going to get to work? Because we're not seeing it right now. It's not happening. And they should be working on behalf of us. And of course, they are not. So again, I don't know what's happening here. I don't know what end game they're trying to play here. Republicans are not budging. They seem to not be budging. How long will this go on for? I don't know. But I think once you see people not being able to purchase food on November 1st, and you see the chaos that's going to erupt from that, which, again, I think is going to be very massive, by the way, if people, again, have no access to food that they normally do. I think you're going to see a lot of problems in the streets. And, again, Democrats love that. They love problems in the streets. They love chaos because they can play off it. Oh, see, look, we need to have a bigger SNAP program. There we go, and WIC program. And again, they tax more money, they take more money, and of course they take the bulk of it while people get generally nothing. Yep, I mean, what a failed program, too. 42 million Americans can't even purchase food in this country. And we know the bulk of that is illegal aliens. Again, what are they working? Who are they working on behalf of? The LGBTQXYZWTUV? The illegal aliens? Left-wing propaganda? What are they pushing here? What are they giving us that we need? We should have a reasonable, functioning government that works within its means. That's what it should be. And that's why this continuing resolution should be passed to keep the government funded until, I believe, November 21st. Will Schmuck Toomer do it? Probably not, but we'll see if that happens. We'll see if he wakes up here from his little shell here. Who knows? But we have some good news, regardless of the bad news, of course, that the government is still shut down. Again, I know most people it doesn't affect, but it is affecting, again, some government employees. ZeroHedge has a good article saying that's obviously relates to this meeting that Trump had between the U.S. China deal closing, and Scott Bessent went on with Maria Bartiromo to discuss some of the productive elements of this meeting. And one of the most important things in this whole meeting that came as a result of this was a big win for the farming industry, that being the soybean farmers. And here, Bessent outlines some of the important aspects of it. He says, China is now to buy at least 25 million metric tons of soybean per year, and that is to continue on for 3 years. Other countries will buy 19 million metric tons of soybeans from the United States. Says that the China deal signatures possibly as early as next week. We can look at the expected TikTok deal to go forward in weeks. That is, obviously Larry Ellison of Oracle, and of course his cohorts. Obviously, this is important for the Zionist movement, as I've said to you many times in the past, to again control free speech on TikTok, which they didn't have really a handle on before. The U.S. also agreed to cut half of its fentanyl-related tariffs on Chinese goods in return for reducing fentanyl precursor chemical flows into the United States. That's all on China. Why would we reward them? I have no idea. China committing to reducing the flow of fentanyl in the United States. Well, we'll see that when we believe it. Yep, we'll believe it when we see it, folks, because that's their takedown. U.S. spending new rule on entity lists. China's Xi unilaterally expressed interest in a U.S. pipeline project in Alaska. That'd be interesting to see what happens up in Anwar. U.S. is behind China on nuclear power, but we'll catch up. And it says all hands on deck for nuclear power. Okay, so those are the big takeaways from the meeting. Here's what he said with Maria Bartiromo just earlier today.
So the Chinese have agreed to buy 12 million metric tons of soybeans during this season. Right now, between now and the should be January, and then for the next 3 years, they're going to be buying a minimum of 25 million metric tons per annum for the next 3 years. What I would expect is, as President Trump did in 2020, after President Xi had agreed to the Phase 1 deal, he called him regularly and got him to buy more. And that number went up much higher.
Okay, so again, a big win for the farmers here. The soybean farmers are happy because they were going to other nations trying to figure out where they could sell this because China was holding this up. So again, big win for the farmers. They like this, obviously. They'll obviously turn a big revenue from this because China is obviously a big importer of soybeans. That's important for them. They need it. And they're not looking elsewhere to get it. So again, it looks like a productive meeting. I don't think it's going to really affect business too much in America. At least that's not what I'm seeing as of right now. The markets haven't been really affected by this. Again, no big surprises. Nothing too big, but again, something at least positive to work closer towards. Which brings me to my next point, of course, is how are these tariffs really affecting our economy right now? What's happening with all this? And what to know about Trump's latest tariffs. This is in the Wall Street Journal. And you can never go wrong with the Wall Street Journal, can you? I don't think so. So obviously we know Trump and Xi sitting down, reaching this trade agreement, we're seeing a lowering of tariffs on Chinese imports imposed this year to 20%. So they'll be dropping, is what it seems like. But when you add the tariffs imposed on Chinese imports from the first Trump term, overall duties on Chinese imports will now total somewhere around 47%. So that's what you can look forward to if you're buying products from China. You will be paying 47% more for that same piece of garbage product. That could have been made here. That's made over there. Congratulations. So as part of the deal, China now pledged to crack down again on these, obviously, chemicals used to produce fentanyl. That was a big takeaway from all this. Nothing really too big on the tariff front. Obviously, we're adding more tariffs on on Canada because of the, again, I had to laugh at this one. This one made me laugh. The president said that he will impose a 10% tariff on Canada now, in addition to the 35% currently in place. The announcement was a punitive response to the Canadian ad campaign during the World Series that included a comment on tariffs by former President Ronald Reagan. The Trump claim was misrepresented. Why the hell do we care what they play on their own stadium? What the hell do I care? I don't care. Do you care? Oh, it was negative about tariffs, so now we've got to put more tariffs on Canada now. Again, ridiculous. Why are we doing this? There's no reason to do that. It's again, stupid. All right, India and Taiwan still in negotiations, looking to obviously get their tariffs lowered. India has been asked to stop buying Russian oil and what have you to reduce their tariffs. We'll see if that actually plays out. I don't think it will. Trump also announced tariffs on branded or patented pharmaceuticals, heavy trucks, and household furnishings, with a number of exceptions. The administration is now considering duties on more sectors, including things like semiconductors, which again are very important for our computers, our AI. Think of that system and think of how that will be worked and how that will be added up into the products that you buy. We also have revenues on duties from U.S. imports that have jumped after Trump imposed sweeping tariffs. American companies, after eating up much of the cost, again, that will be passed on to you, are increasingly passing some of the most burden to the consumers through increased prices. I told you this before, folks. I told you this happened originally. I said, you are the ones who are going to be paying this. This is why consumer price indexes are up across the board. Now, they're not up a lot, but they are up. So, again, whenever you hear, oh, we're going to add a 10% tariff, oh, we're going to add a 7%, oh, we're going to add this onto this, you're paying for the difference on all this, just so you know. Because if not, that company is going to go out of business if they can't turn a profit. So, if the tariff goes up, if the cost of production goes up, you are paying more for that product. Understand that. Same thing if the price of oil goes up because of what we're doing now with putting these sanctions on Russian oil. If it costs more now to, again, bring those goods to market, what do you think is going to be the end result of that? If it costs more to ship the good to the store, what do you think is going to happen? The price of the product has to go up because someone's got to pay for that. And the only person the companies get money from is you, the consumer. It's not the government that wins on this, although the government does win on this because they're getting paid outright. So really, the Chinese company that we have to buy from because we import so much from them, the U.S. government gets billions of dollars from it right off the bat from China. And the American consumer pays more. And you are stuck with the higher bill and the stagnant wages. There you go. So again, that's why you're seeing consumer prices up. Again, I've told you this, and I'll say it again because nobody really else is. Everyone seems happy about this too, by the way. I was listening to Fox News last night. They said, "Oh, look at the money we're bringing in from the tariffs. I mean, we're getting great trade deals. We're reducing the trade deficits." And I say, yeah, because again, they're importing more to the United States than we're exporting that country. If we want to change the trade deficit, which is all that is, by the way, has nothing to do with being ripped off or cheated out of anything. If we want to change that, we need to start producing more in America, which should be Donald Trump's number one priority right now. Manufacturing in America. America becoming a giant exporter versus a giant importer. So again, if we want to reduce that, that's how we have to do it. Tariffs make no difference on any of that, by the way. Just thought I'd share that with you. You can't create a tariff And again, expect to change a massive, massive trade deficit like we have with the one between us and China. Because again, we're importing so much more than we're exporting to them. So, and by the way, it's Congress that's supposed to be doing this. Where's Mike Johnson on this? Where's Speaker Thune on this? Where are they? How come they're allowing this? Where are the courts on this? That one day Donald Trump could say, you know what? I didn't like that ad you played in Canada. 10% more on those tariffs now. There we go. Just wakes up and decides. I mean, it's just ridiculous. There are checks and balances. There are obviously certain things one branch of government can do and the other cannot do. Who controls the purse of Congress? Excuse me, of the Treasury, rather. That's Congress. Congress writes the laws. Congress writes the bills, and the president signs them into effect. That's the way it works. Signs everything into law. But you're not seeing that. They're using Trump doing everything. Trump decides, well, you know, I want a tariff on here. I want a tariff on that. Tariff on Canada now. I'm going to make this tariff here. Hey, if we can get a better deal, I'll just drop this tariff. That's not how tariffs work. It's supposed to be passed through Congress. So we as Americans sit there and say, hey, look, we don't like this bill. We don't want a 47% tariff on goods coming in from China because, again, it's costing us more. Things of that nature. But there is no discussion because there is no communication because it just decided at the spur of the moment, which, again, is unconstitutional. Just thought I'd share all that with you. Some of you may like the tariffs. You might think the tariffs are a brilliant idea. I seem to think otherwise on this. But the U.S. government's making a lot of money off this, so you can't really fault them for that. Makes sense. They want to make more money. They want to pull in more money. We go back to the time of... Who was it? Was it William McKinley? Yeah, he goes back to William McKinley. We use William McKinley, who was very fond of tariffs, a Republican, very big on tariffs, wanted them. But you have to understand one thing here. When William McKinley was president, from the late 1800s till 1901 when he was assassinated, we had no federal income tax in this country. We had none. You could not tax somebody on their wages. So if you made, $1 an hour and you worked 12 hours a day, you got $12 coming to you. You didn't get $12 taxed at a certain rate. That's not how it worked. So we need to understand, we need to put things in perspective here. That yes, the country was probably much more prosperous then from an economical standpoint, but we had no federal income tax. So if Donald Trump really wants to go the way of tariffs, okay, that's fine. Get rid of the federal income tax then. Get rid of it. We don't need it anyways. All we do is fund the government and their massive programs with it, much of which are absolute junk and crap. Get rid of it. Get rid of the federal income tax. Whatever you earn, it comes right to you. Obviously, you get rid of the state income tax as well. Can you imagine if you were making everything that you actually were said to have earned per hour, or per salary, or per stipend, or whatever the hell it may be? Yeah, you'd see Americans wake up to how illegal taxation is, which it is, by the way. It's illegal to tax people directly on their wages, but the government gets away with it anyway. So that's something for you to think about. All right, moving on. The right scoop. This is big. This is President Trump just ordered the United States to begin testing nuclear weapons. Why would we be doing this, folks? That's a big if right here. But it was reported earlier today that China now was testing a nuclear weapon capable of destroying a city. Now, President Trump is now ordering the United States to begin testing our own nuclear weapons. So again, we're in an arms race again? Another little Cold War? That we're playing through our proxy war with Ukraine? Well, what's going on here? Are we for peace? Are we for war? What are we for? Nobody knows. Now, he doesn't cite Russia specifically, but obviously that's who he's referring to. That's what he said on Truth Social, stating that the United States has more nuclear weapons than any other country. This was accomplished, including a complete update on renovation of existing weapons during my first term in office. Now, because of the tremendous destructive power, I hated to do it, but I had no choice. Russia is second, China is a distant third, but will be within about 5 years. Because of the other countries' testing programs, I have instructed the Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons on an equal basis. That process will begin immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I don't know why he's thanking us for our attention to this matter. He's supposed to tell us what's going on. All right, so what is the meaning of this? Why are we testing nuclear weapons now, all of a sudden? Again, is it another flex? I have no idea. I really don't. By the way, we haven't tested our nuclear weapons in, I don't know, 33 years in this country. I believe this was the last time we actually tested them. Now, all of a sudden, we're back onto testing nuclear weapons. Again, this is a flex. I understand it. We have Russia doing it, so now we've got to do it. But I will say this about Russia, though. I'll give them a little bit of slack here. Vladimir Putin actually extended this provision of Donald Trump that he would extend the START treaty, which again stops any type of nuclear proliferation. He wants to extend it for another year on that basis. Again, it's supposed to be signed or renewed rather in February of next year. He already wants to, on a mutual basis, continue this treaty to go on. Will it happen? I don't know. I'd like it to go on. I'd like to, obviously stop the building of all these nuclear weapons. I can't see anything positive coming from it. Again, other than the flex that you have it. So I think we already have that. So I don't think we need more of that, do we, folks? Because again, if you want to, flex and say, look, we can blow up a city too. We blow up a certain site, God knows where, and God knows what we do to that land, just to say that we can do it. To me, that's a little bit of ridiculousness. Why would we continue to do that? The radiation alone destroys everything around it, pretty much. Why are we doing this? What are we trying to flex for here? To what? Show Russia, hey, you're going to listen to what we say, otherwise look what can happen to you? Well, I've said this before. Their missile arms are very, very up to date. In many cases, they're much stronger than ours. You can look at their Poseidon missiles that they can shoot from a submarine. You have the Orezhnik missiles they have. I mean, they can really do some great damage. They have hypersonic missiles. Well, we do not have any. So why are we trying to, get into this big back and forth with Russia? I don't understand it. I really don't. Now, I know obviously the powers that be want us to have a bad guy and a good guy to look at. I know we're always the good guy. Everyone else is always the bad guy that we don't like. And it always keeps us in this perpetual state of war. Trump says, he said it the other day when he met with Xi. Said he's a great leader. I like him. Okay, great. Let's do business. Why do we have to keep flexing? Same thing with Putin. He says, I like Putin. I get along with Putin. He respects me. I respect him. Great. Then why are we doing this? Why are we in this proxy war with Ukraine? Pushing them to have more war with Russia. Why are we doing this? It doesn't make any bit of sense. Let's get back to free trade. Let's get back to commerce with these countries. And let's stop with the wars. Well, the military security industrial complex isn't going to like that. They have to have a boogeyman, so the CIA has to create one. That's why you see all this hatred of Russia. So again, it's testing nuclear weapons. Come on. I don't think we need to do this, folks. I don't think we need Armageddon just yet. Just my take on it. I don't know. Maybe you feel differently about it. Maybe you're happy about it. I know the liberals aren't happy about it. I'm not happy about it for the other reason that it's just not necessary. Okay, it's just not necessary to me. Unless there's an absolute reason we should be testing these things, I don't see a reason why we're doing it. That's just my take on it. This New York City mayoral race is obviously coming to a T right now as Election Day nears for New York City, New Yorkers. Yep, New Yorkers. But Cuomo now narrows Mamdani's advantage in the latest poll of the New York City mayoral race. Isn't that something? Old Slow-Mo's coming in quick on this one. And it looks like Mamdani is dropping in the polls right now, which I think is a fantastic thing. And again, I'm not a Cuomo fan by any stretch of the imagination. But one is an ardent communist who doesn't like our country at all. And the other one is a liberal whose policies really suck. We could look at his tenure as governor of the state of New York. Look no further than that. But Cuomo's policies at least are not going to absolutely destroy things. They probably won't make anything any better. But at least you're not going to see an absolute destruction of the biggest financial sector in our country, which is New York City. So with a week less until, the election day, you have Zoran Mamdani, who holds a double-digit lead, 10 points in this race against Andy Cuomo. But Cuomo keeps narrowing this gap, so that's worrying Mamdani and, of course, his communist supporters, right? The idiots who go out and vote for him. I told you this before. I'm going to say it again. Sliwa should have dropped out of this race a long time ago. Adams did the right thing. He said, look, I'm polling at 8%. I'm not going to win this. There's no reason to do this. I'm going to drop out of the race. So why is Sliwa not doing the same thing? Sliwa has no path to victory. Okay? He just has no path to victory. Whether you like him, whether you don't like him, he has no chance of winning. He's run in the past. He has never come close to winning. I think Adams beat him by, I think it was 66, 67%. He had 23, 24%, I think. If that, he has no chance to win this. So the normal thing to do would be like, okay, this is a very important race. If this schmuck gets in, who has zero experience doing anything, by the way, what's going to happen to our city? What's going to happen to our city of an ardent communist who hates America? And that's Zoran Mamdani. That's him. What's going to happen to this city of New York? Well, it's going to go right down the crapper. It's going to wind up in the crap house. That's what's going to happen to it. You see a mass exodus, just like you see in California, out of New York City. And what's going to happen? Where are those people going to go? New Jersey? Upstate New York? Long Island? Connecticut? Boston? Where are they going to go? Where are all these people going to go? Nobody knows. But they're not going to stay in the city, I can tell you that much. Anyone with money is going to leave. It's going to be crime-ridden. It's going to be highly taxed, especially on the highest earners, of course. The school systems are going to continue to crumble right in front of your eyes. Cleanliness, obviously, is going to go down. You're going to see lots more civil unrest, I would say. And it's all coming on the back of the taxpayers, of course. Law enforcement will be deballed, absolutely. So you have a lot to look forward to, I guess, if you're still in New York City. And should this Mamdani win? But make no mistake, he is a communist. Folks, everyone keeps calling him a democratic socialist. He is a communist. That's what they are. That's just a little term that Bernie the Turd Sanders uses, so you say, oh, he's not a communist. He's a socialist. He just wants a social program, right? Social justice. Okay, all right. Tax everybody to death. All right, whatever. That's their only plan on anything. I'm going to raise taxes. I want to raise the New York State corporate tax. That's what he's trying to get Kathy Hochul to do. So they had this survey that was conducted on Thursday to Monday after Mayor Adams endorsed Andy Slomo in his bid to defeat Mamdani. And the embattled Democratic mayor had been running for re-election as an independent but dropped out of the race last month, although his name remains on the ballot. So don't vote for Eric Adams. He's dropped out of the race, folks. His name shouldn't even be on the ballot. And don't write his name in because that's just a waste of your vote. Now, again, if Sliwa drops out, I think you're going to see Cuomo win this race, handedly. Mamdani is already dropping in the polls. We're seeing that advantage that he once had starting to get cut down, and that's because people are starting to understand who he is more. And he took a very brutal beating in these last couple debates. He's horrible. He sits there like a doofus with a smile on his face, of course. That's all he can do. You learn well from his mother. Just smile, honey. Just smile. There you go. Smile. They love a smile. Communists love a smile. Well, they're absolutely right. That's exactly what you're seeing right now. Andy Cuomo was on with Maria Bartiromo, this morning. Or was it yesterday? I can't remember what day it was. It was one day ago. Okay, so it was yesterday. And this is what he said about his chances of winning this race and, of course, how he sees this playing out.
The gap is closing on its own. What's happening, Maria, is the more they learn about Mamdani, the less support he has. What happened early on is, he was very good on social media and everything sounded fine. But now that when you actually look at what he was talking about, there's no there there. Also, the Republican vote for Curtis Sliwa is dropping because people get that Sliwa is not a viable candidate. And really, if you vote for Curtis Sliwa, you're voting for Mamdani. And my agenda is much more attractive to the Republicans.
Well, you were feisty in that debate. Everybody said you won that last debate. How can you continue to point out some of these issues that you're talking about when referring to Mamdani and what he will do to New York?
Yeah, well, people get it. They now get the difference that I am the Democrat. He is a socialist. New York cannot survive as a socialist economy, right? He would chase corporations out of this city, out of this state. He would chase wealth out of this city and state.
What's going to happen in New York City when people leave, though? That's what we were talking about here. What's going to happen when he chases out the big high rollers in the city? When they're going to take their wealth where? To Florida, probably. I told you earlier in the year, most people in New York City are looking at Florida. They're looking at Westchester. They're looking at Long Island. They're not looking at staying in the city. Even people right now that are looking at real estate in New York City are looking for other places as a side note. And again, they have money, they have the wealth, they can pack up and move whatever the hell they like, so it doesn't really matter. The real losers are the people that can't get the hell out of the city. That's the entire problem with this. So you're going to have the people that can't leave, or the people that are working for a pension, they're close to retirement. We see this in California too. I've heard time and time again from people in California, once I hit my retirement, I'm out. I'm leaving. I'm done. I'm done with this crap from Gavin Newsom. And the same thing is going to apply to what's happening in New York City. Make no mistake about it. So he's absolutely right to point that out. And again, I don't really like Andrew Cuomo. Yeah. So the fact that I would say anything positive about him is a shocker, I know. But the debate didn't go well. But he didn't do well in the debate, Mamdani. Okay, because he's a dummy. He's a blank slate. That's all he is. He says the right things to the sycophants that are communistic, that, again, hate the country, or were ardent leftists like he is. But they're starting to figure out, most people are starting to figure out who this guy is. The problem with the New York City mayoral race is that not a lot of people voted. Of the eligible voters, primarily, especially in the last, I'd say, 10, 15, 20 years, you're only getting about a quarter of the people out to vote. So, I mean, this could maybe be a big turnout. I don't know. But if it stays low, I think last time it was 23% voted when Adams won. In the previous year when de Blasio won, good old Wilhelm Voren, 25% came out to vote. I mean, it's a very, very low number. So understand that. You're dealing with a very small population that actually does vote. And if that base is motivated, like the ardent communists are, to go out and vote, think of the teachers unions, the other major unions in the city of New York, all those people will probably vote because that's who they are. That's what they live for that. And your average New Yorker is like, huh, there's a race? What? Oh, I didn't know that. That's why people need to pay attention to politics. People say, you know what, I just don't pay attention to that. I'm not going to vote. It doesn't matter. It does matter, though. It does matter. Especially in this case, it absolutely does matter. And you might end up with an absolute communist who's going to turn your city upside down. Then what's going to happen to you? Well, you're going to get turned upside down, too, especially in taxation. This was the debate, though, their last debate, and Cuomo just handed it to him. He just handed him his ass on a platter.
Things. You have never had a job. You've never accomplished anything. There's no reason to believe you have any merit or qualification for 8.5 million lives. You don't know how to run a government. You don't know how to handle an emergency. And you've literally never proposed a bill on anything that you're now talking about in your campaign. You had the worst attendance record in the assembly, and you gave yourselves the highest raise in the United States of America. You went from $110,000 to $140,000, and then you never showed up for work, and you missed 80% of the votes. Shame on you. Shame on you.
So he's just like AOC. He's absent. Yeah, but he runs his mouth. He smiles. He's the lighthearted communist, I would have to say. He comes off as a nice guy. He's in a nice suit. He smiles. He's a young guy. Everyone says, wow, look at this guy. He's saying everything I want. Rent control. Yeah, I don't want to pay more for rent. We're going to make rent cheaper. Oh, I'm going to make buses Free. Don't worry. Vote for me. I'll make that bus free. And we know you don't like those cops, so we're going to get rid of them too. Don't worry about it. He's already talked about this with the police commissioner, Tish, there, saying, I'm going to basically run this. Do you really want this communist who, again, wants to defund the police, get rid of the police, run your city? Guy who gives the Christopher Columbus Memorial the middle finger? There's so much more to Mamdani behind the scenes that you don't even know about. And it's starting to come too. His radical roots in Islam is starting to come through. And again, you have a right to believe whatever the hell you want in this country. You do. But do you want a radical Muslim to run your country, to run your city? Again, the fathers came out the other day saying similar sentiments to this. What do you think he believes? If the father believes this, America's this colonial place, everybody is, he said Abraham Lincoln was Hitler. I mean, okay. I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to say that Abraham Lincoln influenced Adolf Hitler now. Okay. All right. Well, okay. Forget the fact that Lincoln was a Republican, not a Democrat, who owned slaves, who put in, Jim Crow laws and segregation and what have you. Lincoln was the opposite. Now, Lincoln was indeed a tyrant, especially on the war front. Again, what he did to the South was abhorrent. Those of us who actually read history, and you absolutely should. But the mother came out in a 2013 interview and said he's not an American at all. Again, people are starting to see this now. They're starting to come through and say, well, do I really want someone who hates this country to be our leader? She then said in the interview that he was born in Uganda, raised between India and America. He thinks of himself as a Ugandan and as an Indian, not as an American. So why is he running? Because it's all about taking something down. He is handpicked to take them down, the country down. And if you take out the biggest city in America, that's one step. Bring it to your utopia of communism, destroying every fabric that exists. Why come to the United States if you hate the country so much? Right, the mom makes a lot of money in Hollywood. Dad's a, Columbia professor. He's not poor. None of them are poor. They probably do better than the average American, I'd have to say. Why do they hate the country so much? Because that's who they are. They hate the country. They want to take the country down. He is just a, cog in the wheel of this whole thing. Probably handpicked. Look at all the money he got from Soros. So don't think that he doesn't rub shoulders with some of these people that want the destruction of the United States. He does too. He's just the face of it. Just understand that. So that's who this schmuck is, by the way. And conversely enough, the same thing is happening in Minneapolis, and no one's really paying much attention to that, but you take a listen to this and tell me if we should all be frightened.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Somalia. Hiran State. Mawisle. Early voting hadda illa November 4. I need your vote. I need you. Hadan Udkina, hello. We're going to win.
Okay, so if you thought you were listening to a campaign in a foreign country, you were not. That was actually in Minneapolis. That was Omar Fatah waving a foreign flag, speaking in a foreign language. And again, I thought he was born in Washington, D.C., pledges his loyalty to Somalia, and then tells the Somalians at this, meeting, rally to go ahead and vote for him. This is happening in America, folks. What do you think about that? Someone who's waving a foreign nation's flag to lead one of the biggest cities in America. Again, what do you think he's going to do? Be pro-American? What is he going to do? Nothing positive, I can tell you that much. What do you think he's going to stand up for the white Americans that live in the city? You better think again. Again, another one runs for office, gets elected, now running for a mayoral race in the city of Minneapolis. Waving a Somalian flag. How is this not treasonous? How do we think this is okay? Folks, how do we think this is all right? It's not all right. We shouldn't be okay with this. This guy should be under so much scrutiny. Should be coming out of his ears. I mean, what are we allowing this to happen for? You're seeing it happen in Minneapolis. You're seeing it happen in New York City. You're seeing, obviously, you look at Los Angeles, Karen Bass. Yep, Karen Bass, right? Ardent communist, Fidel Castro sympathizer, went to Cuba many times. She's a communist through and through. How's she running LA? Right into the ground. I mean, it was already in the ground before that, but she's really running into the ground right now. They don't care about this country. They care about their allegiance to communism. That's what it comes down to. Allegiance to communism. And again, nobody seems to care about this. Why is nobody speaking out against this? Where are the people protesting this nonsense? How come nobody seems to care? Seems to get worse and worse and worse. And you're going to see this more and more and more if you see this start to happen now. If Mamdani wins, you're going to see the downfall. The start of the downfall. It's already started, but the major downfall, the last stages of the United States. If you are complacent in all this, if you don't stand up and take what is yours, I'll just put it to you that way. If you allow this, your cities are done. It's over. Finished. But what did Tim Beta Feminine Weakling Waltz just recently do? Well, he signed into a law that if you are a legal alien, you can get a driver's license. And what do you think you can do with that driver's license? Well, you can vote in these local elections, of course. So get ready for that, folks. It's going to be a big one. Absolutely a big one. So if you're in Minneapolis, if you're in New York City, you got to get out and vote against these people that hate this country. They want to turn America into where they came from. That's what they want. They want to turn that's the end result of it. Turn America into the third world. That's what it's coming down to. And if you import the third world, you become the third world. Just thought I'd point that out to you as well. These people have no business being in America, and they should absolutely be looked into for treason. Absolute treason. Bloomberg states now that Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker the Pig now challenges plan to fund transit with a billionaire tax. That's their answer to everything, isn't it? They have no idea. They have nothing unique to come up with. So what do? They pledge a tax. That's all. Want this. We need to raise taxes. Never cut spending, though. They never say that. They never want to cut spending, these Democrats, do they? Says here that Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker the Pig, I added the last part in there, said that a proposal to tax billionaires in the city of Chicago and their assets and enact other levies to help fund Chicago's regional transit system won't advance in its current form. There you go. The measure seeks to tax unrealized gains for residents with $1 billion or more in net assets, according to a bill filed by State Representative Eva Dina Delgado late Tuesday. The proposed legislation also includes items like a $5 concert ticket surcharge and more speed cameras outside Chicago. So this is how they're going to make quotas now. Speed cameras. Hey, you were speeding. Our camera saw you. We're going to send you your bill. You owe us $75. Thank you so much. Come back to Chicago soon. I mean, again, to me, that's a violation of the Fourth Amendment, personally. That you're in a police state and you have a camera looking at you. They can just say whatever the hell it really wants. But these come in the final days of the so-called veto session that ends on Thursday. And Pritzker, the Democrat who is a billionaire himself, I wonder if he's going to pay for this. Right? He's an heir to the, Hyatt Hotel Foundation, right? I wonder if he's going to start paying this. Said the plan needs more review. Yeah, well, this is what he wants, though. This is what they're going to do. They're simply going to tax people more. The proposal comes after a time when the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago have already seen the departure of a sting of wealthy individuals and corporations like Citadel and Boeing. Earlier this month, Mayor Brandon Johnson, right, outlined his budget plan, which seeks to raise levies on big corporations and the wealthy. He wants a $21 monthly head tax on employees with at least 100 workers in the city. right? So, hey, you're an independent worker. You start your own business. Mayor Johnson comes and says, hey, you know what? You owe me $21. Hey, $21. Everyone that works here, you owe me $21. How is this any different than the mob? Think about that. How is this any different from a mob? We can just randomly decide. If you're a company that has 100 employees, I'm going to take out $21 for every employee you have. And you're still going to pay your payroll taxes, every single other tax that they have on businesses. Where is capitalism? It's in the gutter. Yep, well, the bill's in the Illinois House, which seeks new sources of revenue to fund transit. Yes, there it is. Yep, he's trying to take a book out of the Mamdani approach. Just raise taxes. When the current state income tax is 4.95% to unrealized capital gains for taxpayers with assets over $1 billion. So again, they look at the rich. They say, hey, you're going to pay your fair share. Pay your fair share. There you go. And this is what they want to do. Yep. Don't cut spending, right? Don't cut spending. Don't encourage more business in the city. Don't create less crime in the city. No, you can't do that. You got to have your crime. But we're just going to tax the hell out of you and pray to God that you stay in the city. Well, that's why people are leaving. Again, people are leaving for greener pastures. That's what you're seeing. But unfortunately, sometimes you're going to run out of places to go, folks. That's the only problem. If New York falls, if Minneapolis falls, if Chicago, L.A., San Fran, Schmucko, they all fall. Where are you going to go? Well, you're going to go to another red city? Few of them exist. It's only a matter of time before you have more of these lunatic leftists in the cities that run it, that want to raise the taxes. So where are you going to go? It's a big if when people just get up and leave. I I'm not telling people what to do, but I'm just saying, if you don't stand up and fight against this nonsense, at some point it's going to encroach everything you do and everywhere you go. Not too long ago they were saying, well, let's do red states in America versus blue states, right? Red states will have their own, United States, the blue states will do their own thing. I said to myself, why would we do that? Why? I mean, again, I understand what they're saying, but why would we do this? Why would we allow such a thing? What, we're going to give land to more communists? That's what we're going to do? We'll give them California, Oregon, Washington, right? The whole Atlantic seaboard on the northeast. We're just going to give it all away? It's going to be its own little own little nation now? Like, come on. What is this ridiculousness? You got to stay and fight, but we need a federal government that actually gets illegals out of the country. And again, you look at any American city now, whites are the minority in all these cities, by and large. By and large, whites are the minority. And the reason for that is, one, illegal immigration in the country, and two, they import 1 million legal immigrants in the country every single year. So again, Trump, what he needs to do, when he's starting to do it, but he needs to start, again, deporting more people, of course. He needs to start getting in these blue cities and these blue states primarily and deport illegal aliens. That's what should be done. But you need to stop legal immigration too. They always say, well, I'm for legal immigration. That's fine, but you need to halt it for about, 25 years. We don't need to just keep importing people every single year. It's ridiculous. We don't need it. Now, conversely, in Chicago, activists for illegal aliens now, that's another thing in America. We have people standing up for people that break the law. Well, it's nothing new with the Democrats, is it? But they're increasing their harassment, their obstruction, of course, attacks on law enforcement officers. Yep. Get ready for that. And they're going to try to carefully extract illegal migrants for required deportations. That's what's happening now in Chicago. And where's Pritzker the pig on this? Nowhere to be seen. He endorses it. And so you see police helping them. But the increasingly dangerous conditions faced by Border Patrol and, of course, ICE agents in Chicago are now continuing to grow much worse as, again, these activists now for illegal aliens increase their violent attacks. Now, it's important to note that we've already seen, I think, 1,000% increase now in attacks on federal agents that are dealing with immigrants in this country. Illegal immigrants, I should say. Excuse me, illegal aliens. I want to say the right term. Illegal aliens. And again, more videos are showing that it's making its way to social media every day. They're starting to attack more, along with the use of throwing rocks, bottles as weapons. Violent activists are also increasingly using professional-grade fireworks against ICE agents in Chicago, causing the risk of hearing loss, eye damage, burns, you name it. And again, where's Pritzker? Where's Brandon Johnson? Nowhere. They condone this. They like this. They champion this. Where are our congressional leaders run this? Does anyone have any say in this? Is anyone going to stand up to this? How do we have a nation of laws, and we have a group of people that want to break the laws, that are attacking federal agents, all of whom should be arrested, by the way? But perhaps even more dangerous, activists are now using cars, they're using trucks to ram into ICE vehicles. Obviously, we saw the use of firearms at the Broadview ICE facility, killing actually 2 illegal aliens in the process by some lone lunatic gunman. It doesn't get any better, folks. It's just getting much, much worse. And you're seeing this uptick in violent crime against these ICE agents. Now, many Chicagoans, though, are very unhappy that, Mayor Brandon Johnson and J.B. Pritzker the Pig are fomenting this insurrectionary acts against federal law enforcement. They're not happy with this. And they've had enough of this. But, it's a state where you don't need any voter ID to vote. So, of course, the Democrats always continue to stay in power somehow. Interesting stuff. By the way, this isn't just the news. I wanted to go over this one. I wanted to go over this yesterday, but I had ran out of time. But it's a perfect time to finish off today's show with. It says here that Democratic nominee Mikey Sherrill, I think it's Mikey Sherrill, not Mickey. I think it's Mikey. Yeah, there we go. Mikey Sherrill and Republican nominee Jack Ciattarelli are now polling evenly in the New Jersey gubernatorial race ahead of its election day on Tuesday. This is a good one. This is very interesting to me. Now, New Jersey is kind of like the state that goes from blue to red, goes back and forth, but typically is a left-leaning blue state. But according to an Emerson College polling survey released on Thursday, 49% of likely voters support Mikey Sherrill, compared to 48% for Jack Ciattarelli, and 2% are undecided. So, this is really a dead heat for these two candidates. Now, it is important to note that Sherrill's lead has dropped. We know that a lot of these polls underestimate Republicans. We saw this last time. I think Ciattarelli is supposed to get like 45%. He ended up getting, I think he got either 48 or 49% last time. And Phil Murphy just squeaked by with 51.3%, if I'm not mistaken. You can look that up if you'd like. But it was a very close race. And Ciattarelli ran a really, really good campaign. But here we got Mikey Sherrill, the Democrat. She's about, again, the Mamdani approach. Lower cost for housing, energy, and food. How are you going to do that? Nobody knows. Protecting children, safeguards to access to health care and education. Again, what the hell does that mean? Safeguard to access health care. What does that mean? Abortion on demand for females that want to get an abortion? What does that mean? Does she even know what she means? Probably not. Government accountability, increased transparency, and responsiveness. Oh, okay. That's good. Let's see you put Phil Murphy under some scrutiny here. Yep, affordable housing, convert unused commercial spaces into homes. And, oh, God. That's not going to work. That's not going to work at all. Energy costs, declare a state of emergency. So we're just going to declare a state of emergencies on rising utility prices and hope that fixes everything, while investing in clean energy on state property. So what? Solar panels everywhere? In the state of New Jersey? Come on. Get real. What? Windmills? These people are stupid, I swear to God. Healthcare, opposing Medicaid, work requirements, and pledge to protect vulnerable populations. That'd be illegal aliens. We see that happening in Congress right now. Support student loan relief and expanded educational access. Oh, okay. So they want to get more people into college, teach them to be communistic, and, of course, leave them with about $100,000 in debt for a job that's not there when they get out. Economical development, promote job growth through infrastructure and green energy investment. So what they're going to do is they're going to get more state employees so they can get on union jobs. And, of course, they can build their solar panels wherever the hell they want. There it is. And, fix the streets, fix the potholes, and get them to vote Democrat every single time. Backed by Phil Murphy, Barry Obama's in this race, too. Why can't he just go away? Why can't he just go to Martha's Vineyard and, I don't know. What the hell does he do there? Nobody even knows. Who cares? Just go away. No one wants to hear from you. And God, he struck out, what, every single damn time he's endorsed a candidate? Labor unions and reproductive rights groups also endorse Mikey Sherrill, the Democrat. Okay, but what about Jack Ciattarelli? Well, he wants to cut taxes and reduce state spending. Okay, that's smart. That's a good thing. He wants to have tougher on crime policies and support law enforcement. Very good. Housing policies. He wants to end mandated affordable housing requirements. He wants to cap property taxes based on home value. He wants to reduce income taxes and consolidate brackets. He wants to cut the corporate tax rate 1% annually for 5 years. And he wants to slash state spending by 30%. Wow, that's pretty good. I like this guy. This guy's good. He wants to refund tuition differences for students who stay and work in New Jersey post-graduation. Again, he's trying to keep the people that are skilled to stay in the state. Pretty smart. He supports Medicaid reforms, including work requirements. So again, if you are taking this program, he wants you to obviously be looking for work or working at the time. And he wants to end the sanctuary state policies. Yep. There you go. So we have two very different candidates there. I think you know who I would rather select as a candidate, but look at that one. Look at that one. You have one person using the Green New Deal, open border policies, and you have someone else who wants to cut spending, wants to increase, obviously, the work output, job growth in the state, and actually encourage people to come to New Jersey and start businesses while supporting law enforcement, while holding criminals accountable, and, of course, getting rid of illegal aliens. That's the difference between the two. And I think you know where I would stand on this one, of course. So it looks like a very close race. We'll see what happens, of course. But it looks like Jack Ciattarelli might throw a wrench in the Democrats there in New Jersey. What better place to do it? Folks, I'll see you tomorrow on the next Mark and Dre Show. Until then, be good, stay busy. God bless each and every one of you. Have a great rest of your day.